Hillary Clinton right now being introduced at the NAACP conference. This after 3 police officers were killed, 3 others ambushed, injured rather, during that ambush in Baton Rouge over the weekend. Lieutenant General Russel Honore is among the Baton Rouge faith leaders and activists who now calling for a change. General, thanks for joining us on such a horrific day. Your initial thoughts as this was playing out over the weekend, of course, in the aftermath of what happened in Dallas?
Oh, it's a tragedy. It's like a big punch in the gut. It's a sad day, and we can all see the tragedy in this useless, mindless, evil killing of our officers with no political outcome from it. This guy who came to kill our officers obviously had some mental issues, because no one in their right mind would do that. But it looked back on what we could have done. I'm sure the police will take a hard look at that. But collectively across the nation, we're going to have to look among our friends and keep a keen eye on people who look like they're becoming radicalized. Not some kind of a witch hunt, but if there's a pattern of people getting assault rifles and going out and shooting and wearing military-type clothes and starting talking radicalized, we may have to have a talk with them.
Of course, long before that happens, though, to your point, there are signals or signs that friends and family are keenly aware of. I went through this killer's social media pages, and I've seen him linked up with other people who have a lot of followers and some influence within certain communities. And you wonder, how far do you connect the dots, and who should we hold accountable? Because you talked about this not having any necessarily political outcome. I think it's had a dire political outcome, and I think it's moving people in this country further apart rather than closer. And again, it may be one lone crazy, sick, evil person, but the outcome impacts 325 million Americans.
You're absolutely right. And then I think we're going to have to take a closer look at these social medias. Much of our intelligence services, and you know that we're restricted on what we can do inside the United States, but the FBI and others are going to have to probably look up, and as well as local law enforcement, and penetrate some of these sites to see what's going on in the language being used. But the problem is our First Amendment guarantees us to be able to say anything. Is when do we cross that line from freedom of speech to the language that said this person is not stable or they're radicalized? I think the other issue we want to go back and relook, because it's causing law enforcement, and I talked to our officers here on the ground in Louisiana since last week several times, this idea of open carry. I don't think that's a good idea. That with the idea of a good guy with a gun in a crowd, that's a bad idea. And it's making our officers less safe. It's making our officers less safe. It's making our citizens less safe.
I just kind of feel that of all the things, if we were to just line them up and put a bullet point, and, no pun intended, probably the wrong choice of words there, but it just said, what was the biggest cause of this? What's creating this? I don't think that it's about open carry per se, because we're getting back to blaming a gun or a rifle when it's a human being who's making these evil decisions, and in some cases prodded on by other human beings.
I about that, but I'm telling you this. It's our law enforcement keep us safe on the street.
Absolutely.
And it's distracting to them. It's distracting to them, and we need to go back and look at it, because what have we gained by open carry? Has it helped the stock market? Nobody can say it ever made us any safer. Where the good guy with the gun, how do you determine who is the good guy and the bad guy based on the Dallas scenario? I just think it's not an attack on the Second Amendment.
With all due respect, sir, the Dallas scenario, the bad guy was the guy shooting at cops. It was pretty simple. He was moving around a lot, but there wasn't a whole bunch of people who pulled out guns. There was one evil person with a gun, and he assaulted and ambushed a whole bunch of police officers. So if that's the rationale for that, people are going to say to you, then how do you explain Chicago this past weekend? How do you explain these places where they have very restrictive gun laws and the highest body count?
Well, we have very limited gun laws here in Louisiana. Anybody 18 years or older can own a gun and open carry it. Anybody, with the exception of people that's described through law they can't because of some judgment. So what have that gotten us in Louisiana? We're leading the nation in dead bodies of our citizens. We incarcerate more people than anybody else in the country. We spend more money on prisons than we do on education. What has that done for Louisiana?
Right,
it hasn't done anything. Has it stopped the killing in our communities? So I understand you got a position on guns, and the gun lobbyists pay y'all well. Go ahead and live with that.
Yeah, you know what? This has nothing to do with.
We ought to celebrate.
This has nothing to do with gun lobbies paying anyone. This has to do with the fact that you refuse to blame the person pulling the trigger, and that is an insult to everyone. You've done a great service for this country.
I never refuse to blame.
Well, you're blaming the law instead of your person, the person who's actually gunning down innocent people, whether they're their neighbors or police officers.
Hey, it's your mic, buddy. You keep it. You keep it. Goodbye.
All right, goodbye.
God bless America.
I still love you.